Okay, we're recording. Good. When we've had our virtual meetings at chapters and we've gotten all the input from you all and through the survey and so forth, um, without that, we would not be responsible leaders of this great union because what would we be doing? Based on our own ideas of what to go to the table with. So, thank you, and thank you for your interest and willingness to participate today, because that's what we need. So much is happening at the same time. We're going to talk about contract negotiations. We're also fighting for a budget that will fully fund the campuses where we work. And remember, we're a union. Our prime responsibility for day in and day out work that we do in UUP is to protect our work, protect each other as labor. That's what we do. And at the same time, it is not possible for us to be getting any kind of success, and you're going to hear from him in a second, any kind of success in this round of negotiations without our chief negotiator, Bret Benjamin from the University at Albany. This is his third go around on the team and second as chief negotiator. And a great team made up of your colleagues. They're volunteers who do this work at the table to argue for what we deserve. And they're a phenomenal group of folks who are doing the work that I personally need to have done. At the end of the day, I sign off on what the contract is. But I trust this team and the leadership that Bret is providing and that Jeremy Ginsburg, our staff counsel, if you want to call it that, he's the expert on the contract. He's the expert on negotiations. I'd like to refer to that role as the person who's the hired gun for UUP in our negotiations, because we are dealing with, yes, they are negotiating partners, but they are also at times opponents. That's the state of New York, ultimately the governor, and the State University of New York. But it's a great team, great leadership, and because we were so open with all of you in bringing together our demands, and the team did so much work in fall and early winter in putting together actual language and demands. We were able to go to the table once we got dates, which took some fights with the governor and some long conversations with her and her staff. But we got to the table earlier than we have, certainly in my memory, for UUP, well before our contract expires at the end of June of this year. We've gotten to the table. We've gotten a lot of negotiation dates. We're getting work done. I personally told the governor that we were going to be responsible negotiating partners, and we have been, and I think that's having a real impact. And you're going to hear about that a little more from my comrade from the University at Albany, Bret Benjamin. But your input, your determination, your support, crucial in putting together what we have taken to the table. Now, as you will hear, we need you to be continuously engaged. We are up against the clock. The clock is early June. That's when the legislature is done for this session. They're working on a budget right now. I'm wearing a suit and a tie today because I got to head downtown and lobby to get what we need into the budget. Because the way it works, folks, is the sooner we can get a budget done, the more concentration the governor will place on contract negotiations with us, CSEA and PEF. Okay. And so we've got to get a budget done as soon as possible. We've got to get a good budget. For that, we need political power, and that also includes you. We have been pressuring for what our we need at the campuses where we work. You're going to see in the chat the link that you can use to write letters to leaders of the legislature to press for that, for what we need. And then also, we're dealing with a national circumstance, okay? Doesn't matter to me how you feel about Donald Trump or his policies, but the fact of the matter is the war that's being waged is costing $1 billion a day, and he's going to go to Congress asking for $200 billion. That's a real cost to the federal budget, but it's going to impact state budgets. It's going to impact the economy, and that can have an effect and will have an effect on what the state finances are, and will also have an impact on what we can get in this contract. And that's why unions have joined across the country in the No Kings protests on Saturday. There's going to be a link in the chat if you want to register for that. Once again, UUP will be heavily represented across the state, as our colleagues will be across the country. And it's all linked. And that's why the fight we are doing right here on this call and getting each other, charged up for the fight, but also energized for it. It's really all one struggle. Again, for those who are, angry or whatever about what's happening at the federal level, well, we can make a real difference right here by the efforts we put in to get a good contract, because that's about moving labor forward and making it better for workers everywhere. We can set an example. We can provide an example for other unions who are fighting. That's what we're engaged in. That's what it means to me. Okay. Yes, specific gains in the contract. Sure, we've done that in the last two contracts, really good ones. This one, we got to build on that. But it's not just about the 42,000 members of UUP. It is also about what we can do for workers across this country and indeed around the world by the example we set, by how hard we fight and how well we win. So with that, I am really pleased to introduce to you our chief negotiator and my friend, who is, again, like I said, this is third go around as on the negotiations team, the second as chief negotiator. He's bright, he's committed. Pardon my French, but he knows his shit when it comes to contract negotiations. So I'm going to turn it over to Bret to give you more information on where we are and what you all can do so that we can get the contract we need and deserve. Bret, go ahead.
Thank you, Fred. Thanks so much, everybody, for joining in. Looks like we're well over 800 people on the call and several watch parties. So again, it's great to see 1,000 UUP members taking time out of their day to join and to think about what we can all do to get the strongest possible contract. That's just fantastic. I'm going to give you a brief rundown of where we are and then, give you some suggestions about how we can start to ramp up the pressure. As Fred said, we got to the table early. We are aiming to get an on-time contract for the first time in any of our memories. And what that means is probably aiming for a tentative agreement in May, late May, early June. Got to get something done before the legislature leaves session in early June. That's our deadline. We're pushing for it. Doesn't mean it's going to happen, but it's absolutely our goal to get this done on time. That means we've got a few months collectively to really show some powerful support for key contract demands. When we went into bargaining, we had two really big concerns. The first was that we were going to get pushed into a really short-term deal. And Fred mentioned the hits that are coming to New York State budgets next year. We wanted a longer-term deal to be able to give us some stability during a period of political, volatility. We also wanted a real negotiation, and negotiations that was able to raise the many profound concerns that all of you have brought to us, your key priorities. We didn't want to get stuck into a kind of a short extender contract where we're really only talking about money and keeping everything going. We wanted a chance to raise the issues that all of you told us are crucial to your work lives. And so far, it's still early, things can change, but so far we feel like we're on track in both those things. We feel like we have indications that we're going to be able to get a multi-year deal. We'll see how it goes, but it's early indications are good. And then also the state and SUNY have been coming to the table regularly. We've had a whole series of dates. We've been able to talk about all kinds of operational issues. We've been able to raise super important priority issues that we think are part of a whole package. When we go to the table, we're not just looking for money. We're looking to transform the way higher ed works in the SUNY system. And so we've been able to put powerful arguments across the table to get some of the things that we want. So I'll give you the sort of quickest rundown. I'll say here, let me post to the chat. There's a kind of an umbrella page off of UUP's main website. 7 steps you can take to get a strong contract. It includes a link to the members only site. You can log into members only. We have a new negotiations bulletin that we've just posted yesterday. We're going to send around a notice about that later today or tomorrow. Detailed information about all the conversations we've had so far. We've had a few more since that bulletin was posted. We've got another session tomorrow and more coming up soon. So we'll get a second update out very, very soon. We have gone to the table to talk about a range of things. We've talked about professional pathways for promotion, salary increase, challenging unsatisfactory evaluations. That's the range of things that are under 828. Those were really important demands that our professionals brought to us during our various listening sessions and our survey. We've talked about A29, which is our comp time agreement. We've talked about remote work, another priority that our members have brought to us, possibilities for 100% remote, bringing the telecommuting agreement into the contract in some kind of way, being able to formalize the process of doing alternate work schedules. Those are all priorities that our members said they wanted their union to be bargaining for. We've had real conversations on those things. We've had conversations around the data that we get from SUNY, being able to better track what our members are doing to enforce our contract. The A32 appendix is the appendix that creates the possibilities for professional titles to be reviewed, titles and title series across the entire system. This has been a long-term demand. We were able to get that into the contract last time. It's been a little slow getting up and running because of SUNY having a hard time finding people, but it's moving, and we've had really good conversations about expanding the scope of that, having UUP be more involved so that we're really able to find mechanisms for our professionals to have career growth over the course of their employment at SUNY, opportunities for promotion. We've had conversations about retrenchment. Obviously, a crucial question for all of us as we've faced really difficult times. Fred mentioned our budgetary demands, trying to get money for our most distressed campuses. We need to make sure that our employees are protected. So we're having conversations there. We have a new article proposal on artificial intelligence, putting up some guidelines around artificial intelligence. That's brand new. We are among the first unions that are trying to put this stuff into our contracts. Higher ed unions across the country are struggling with this. We come to the table with some really, solid demands, well researched, ready to go. We're hopeful that we're going to make progress in being among the first higher ed unions to put up reasonable guardrails around the use of AI on our campuses and in our work lives. We've had significant conversation around the policy of the Board of Trustees and various job security issues. Job security was a top priority for our members coming into this round. Job security for professionals, job security for professionals who are in our appendix titles, but also job security for our contingent academic faculties, finding ways of getting longer term appointments, finding ways to get pathways to permanency for our contingent faculty colleagues. Those have been, serious, long, complicated, rigorous discussions. They remain core priorities for us. We're pushing those at every possible option. We have a date set for tomorrow where we think we're going to get the state's proposals on health benefits. When we go to the table, one of the core things, one of the fundamental things that we do as a union is bargain over the health benefits that our members have. We want to make sure those benefits are as accessible as they possibly can, so as many of our people can get them. We want to make sure they are as affordable as possible. We want to make sure that, the state looks at health benefits as an enormous expense, and they're going to always try to push those costs onto our members. We want to protect the affordability of healthcare, and we want to expand the coverage that we get. We want to make sure that our members are having access to the most comprehensive, most valuable health benefits that are possible. So we're going to be defending those benefits and trying to push them forward. At the moment, we haven't yet begun discussing our compensation proposals yet. I think that's largely because the state budget is still being battled out. Fred mentioned it earlier in his comments and going to put in those letters to put some pressure on the state to really get a budget that funds SUNY. the SUNY system needs to know that it's going to have money in its budgets to be able to respond to the range of compensation demands that we're bringing to the table. We're going to have them regardless. We think the state's got money to pay for us. We think we provide essential work. We think we provide exceptional service. We think, we are an extraordinary economic multiplier. All of the reasons that SUNY is just a gem of public service in the state of New York. So we're going to come in with strong compensation demands, trying to make sure that our members are being paid appropriately for the work that they do. We haven't had those discussions yet. It's our hope that as we turn to April, as that budget gets resolved internally among the legislature, and as we move towards May, we're going to be able to really have those conversations too. We will certainly keep you up to date on all of that. Let me put in one more link quickly into the chat. You can get to this through that 7 steps link that I said earlier, but I'm going to put in a link to our postcard campaign, which is what we've got rolling out right now. All of the chapters across the system have postcards that identify some of our key areas of priority demands. They state succinctly what UUP is bringing to the table on behalf of our members, all of you. We want to begin putting pressure on our campuses and on SUNY by developing, clear, visible, mobilized, unified support among our membership. And these postcards are about educating our members about what we want and showing SUNY how strong the support is for these core demands. These aren't marginal things. These aren't things that a few people want. These are core demands that our unit stands in solidarity behind. So we've got postcards going out to every campus. Actually, every campus has them by now ready to sign. There are, I think, 8 cards that each campus has. They're listed in this electronic form. You can sign them online. That's great, although please sign the hard copies too. There are 855 people on the call, plus all the people on the watch parties. Multiply that by 8. What's 1,000 times 8? 8,000 cards should be signed by the end of this day. In fact, I think we've got 11 on the link because some of the cards go to HSCs and some of the cards go to our non-health science center campuses. So that's 11. That should be 11,000 cards signed by the end of this call, as far as I'm concerned. But more than you all signing those cards, I'm asking each of you to pledge to grab a bundle from your chapter office and bring them back to your unit. Bring them down your hallway. Go and talk to your colleagues. Go and talk to the people who work down the hall, who work in the same office, and get them to sign these cards. We want every single UUP member to know what the priority issues are in this round of bargaining and to be ready to support those demands. It's super important that we do Zoom calls like this, which are fantastic. I'm thrilled to have 1,000 people log it in to pay attention to the contract stuff. There are 42,000 people in our unit. The only way we reach 42,000 people is if each of you help us to go out and talk to your colleagues and really generate support for these demands. The postcard campaigns are a kind of an initial step. This is about getting everybody educated. We're going to keep all of you posted as we have real conversations at the table, as we begin to settle on agreements on issues, as we find the issues that are the sticking points. These are the things we need to get a contract done. It always happens. You come down to the wire and you say, here are the things that we need to get done if we're going to be able to sign this contract, if we're going to be able to bring it to our members to ratify it. There needs to be X, Y, and Z in it. And as we get to that moment, we're going to be communicating clearly to you. And our plan is to have a series of chapter level and regional level events around May 1st. May Day is going to be it's a workers' holiday. It's a time to celebrate the power of labor in this country and internationally. And for us, we have a really concrete ask right now. We have a set of contract demands. These are the things that our workers need to be able to come back and do their jobs effectively. So we're going to be building momentum towards some May Day, and then in that week or two around May Day, chapter level events, regional level events. We want all of our members to be visible and clear and loud and unified and fully in radical solidarity with each other, so that when we come to that final stretch, SUNY and the state know that our hospital workers are out there defending our academic contingents, and that our full-time tenure line faculty members are defending the needs of our professionals in the HSCs, our professionals on the campuses. We need to know that our university center faculty are fully in support of defending our tech campuses, the folks on our campuses who are distressed. All of us need to be working in absolute lockstep unity as we come down the line as visibly as possible so that the state understands if they want to get a contract signed, they've got to put their money where their mouth is. They're going to have to put into the contract the things that we need to make this work. So we are excited about the progress that we've made. We feel really positive about the conversations we've had. We feel like we're making good progress. We feel like we've been working around the issues that our members have brought, and we're about to enter this stretch where I think the big picture, big ticket items are going to be on the table. We pledge to keep you as informed as possible, and we want to have everyone involved. So I'm going to leave it there, Fred. If you want to kind of take back, or if Jeremy, if you have things you want to add that I skipped, feel free. But I'm super excited to be working with all of you to get the best possible contract we can, an on-time contract and a strong contract that meets the needs of our UUP members. Thank you.
Great. Thanks a lot, Brett. Jeremy, did you have anything that you wanted to jump in on before we close?
The only thing I would add is that the noise that you make at your respective campuses reverberates at the table that we're bargaining at. And so, to the extent that you can work with your local chapter leaders to raise these issues at labor management, talk about the things that are important to you. One of the common refrains that we hear at the table is that, oh, well, this is the first time we're hearing about issue X or issue Y. So, remind your local chapter folks and your folks on the other side of the table at your campuses how important all of these issues are.
And it is a case. Two things on that. Thanks, Jeremy. Absolutely. This is the third contract that I've been involved with as president. And in the last couple of rounds, when we made ourselves heard at campuses, we heard about it at the table, and it's usually the other side gets irritated because they want a docile membership so that they can get what they want achieved in this round. We don't negotiate with ourselves. We negotiate with the state of New York, and SUNY's involved in that. And so it is about power and political power. And when we show our power, that makes them worried because, they know that eventually, in the governor's case, she's going to face the voters in November. And she wants the support of unions without a doubt. And so therefore, she's totally aware of, what we all are going to be doing in advocating for a strong contract. Also, the importance of campus presidents, making clear to the chancellor that, yeah, they're hearing from you all on these issues. That can make a real difference. There were a couple of legislative related issues. It is the one that I'm just going to mention too, because we don't have the chat open for this session. What I want to say on a couple items. One is the governor has proposed more money in the operating aid of the SUNY budget, and the legislature is fighting to get more into the final budget. We've got good allies down there. Again, that's why I'm headed down there this afternoon to make sure they stay strong in the budget negotiations. It is fully anticipating that just like the last 2 years, there will be funds in place for SUNY to provide the resources to campuses to pay for whatever is negotiated. Okay, we've gotten that 2 years in a row. We got to make it 3 now because Cuomo never did that. Second, in terms of the campuses and the distressed campuses, it was a strategic decision, ultimately mine, supported by the executive board of UUP, that we target the campuses with the worst financial circumstances right now, out of a concern precipitated by retrenchments and cancellation of programs that are already ongoing at ESF, Buffalo State, Potsdam, and Fredonia. This does not discount the financial difficulties faced by other campuses. What we're trying to do is set a precedent. The legislature and the governor have left all of the determination as to who gets the money to SUNY. We want to break that. We've tried saying Okay, there's 19 campuses that have deficits. Give the money to each of those. That wasn't successful for 2 years. We said, how about if we target the worst financially, the financial situation, if we can get the legislature to open that door? And it's not easy. And that's the discussions I got to have this afternoon, to try to get them to stand strong while also we're pressing the governor to do that. Open that door so that money goes directly to the campuses that are in need. And having done that, then going to all of the others that face deficits that are not the fault of us, of not of the union or the work we do. It's management all the way to the top, meaning Governor Cuomo and the cuts that he did to SUNY over the 15 years or so that he was governor. So we are in a political fight for the best budget possible. We are dealing and a contract the same way with a governor who gets us. We have a much, much better working relationship with the governor than we ever had with Cuomo. And that's testament that the evidence of that is the fact that we've gotten to the table early and that we are having a lot of sessions and good, productive sessions. And she gets the issues of the campuses. Now it's a question as to whether or not we can get the money into budget in what will probably be the last good budget for a very long time, given what's coming out of the feds. So with that, all I want to say is I really appreciate the level of interest to have over 800 people still on and folks dropping things into the Q&A. I appreciate the interest, the dedication to the work you do, and your dedication as unionists. And it makes me optimistic that we're going to win on these two fights of the budget and the contract, and we'll all be better off for it. And those who come after us will be better off for it. Bret, any last words you want to share with our colleagues?
No, just excited to be working with all of you. We feel like collectively the demands that we are bringing forward to the table are going to make structural changes. They're going to make transformative changes for our members. And this is the work that we love to do. We love to really push our employers to make sure that our members are able to do the exceptional work that they do every day in conditions that are most favorable and beneficial to the employees, to the students, to the institutions at all. So super excited to be doing it and look forward to continuing to work with all of you as we get to the closing line.
Excellent. Thanks, Bret. And thanks again to all of you. We will try to get answers to those questions that were posed in the Q&A as quickly as possible. And look for information. Bret mentioned the contract bulletin and more to come. And because we've got all these sessions, so things are going to be happening fast. And he mentioned the May Day stuff. That's really where I'm placing my focus, because that's where we've got to be heard, most likely at the most crucial time in our contract negotiations for this round. So thanks to all of you. Again, thanks to you for the work that you do as those who work in our hospitals, in our academic settings, in the professional work that you do. It is an honor to be the president of this union because of what you do for the public, for the state, for our students, for our communities. And as fellow unionists, let's stay strong. Let's work together. And when we call on you, we're going to need you. It's not because, we want to waste your time. It's because we need to show political strength. We can get this done, but we will only get it done if we all are united and strong. So with that, thank you all. Be well, be safe, and we'll see you next time. Take care.